Most people think aging alone takes our health away. But the truth is, the real threats to our longevity are far more subtle and far more dangerous. They're not loud or dramatic. They creep in silently, hidden in the routines we overlook, the emotions we suppress, and the responsibilities we slowly walk away from. Your body doesn't just break down one day. It's not like a switch flips at 80 and suddenly you can't function. No, decline begins long before the symptoms appear. And by the time you notice something's wrong, it's often too late to reverse the damage. That's why awareness matters, not fear. Awareness, because when you can name the hidden enemies working against you, you can begin to push back. And the first of these enemies, inflammation. A slow-burning fire inside millions of people over 60, quiet, persistent, and deadly. It's not the good kind of fire, the fire of passion, of ambition, of purpose. It's the fire of an immune system stuck in overdrive, burning through your joints, your blood vessels, your nerves, and even your brain, without you ever noticing. You feel it, but you don't name it. That fatigue you brush off. That stiffness you call just getting older. The mental fog, the soreness that won't go away, the poor sleep, the longer time it takes to recover from even small tasks. These are not normal signs of aging. These are red flags, your body telling you it's inflamed and out of balance. Chronic inflammation is the common thread that runs through almost every major disease in later life. Heart disease, high blood pressure, arthritis, dementia, cancer. And yet we rarely talk about it. Instead, we chase the symptoms. You're tired, so you drink more coffee. Your knees hurt, so you get cortisone shots. Your blood pressure climbs, so you start a pill. But no one asks the root question, why is the body inflamed in the first place? That's the question modern medicine often skips. Not because it's unimportant, but because the answer lies outside of a prescription pad. The truth is, inflammation is not random. It builds slowly over decades from processed foods, shallow breathing, chronic stress, restless nights, emotional suppression, and a lifestyle of avoidance. You don't have to be visibly sick to be inflamed. You don't need a fever. You might even have normal blood work. But your body knows. You feel it when your skin bruises more easily, when your gut becomes more sensitive, when you're wiped out after doing what used to be easy. It shows up in small ways until suddenly it shows up in a very big way. A stroke, a heart attack, a cancer diagnosis. And everyone says it came out of nowhere. But it didn't. The fire was burning all along. You just didn't hear the alarm. So what can you do? You cool the fire. You stop feeding the flames. You give your body the chance to reset, starting not in a doctor's office, but in your kitchen, in your breath, in your morning routine. Here's where it begins. Eat for function, not for comfort. Real food, whole vegetables, healthy fats, berries, wild-caught fish. These are not trendy. They're what your immune system understands. Avoid processed oils, refined sugars, and artificial additives. These confuse the body and trigger more inflammation. Move daily, not to burn calories, but to pump blood, circulate lymph, and signal to your immune system that you're alive and still in the game. Even a 10-minute walk reduces inflammation markers. Sleep deeply. During deep sleep, your brain flushes out inflammatory waste. If you're waking up groggy, don't blame your age, blame unflushed toxins. Manage your stress with intention, not by distraction, but by stillness. Slow breathing, gratitude, saying no, emotional honesty. Every unresolved emotion keeps your body in fight or flight, and that means chronic inflammation. And most importantly, stop lying to yourself. Stop calling it just aging when your body is clearly struggling. You weren't meant to feel this way. This isn't what 60, 70, or even 80 is supposed to feel like. You can get stronger, you can get clearer, but only if you start now. Here's the hard truth no one wants to say. Aging doesn't kill people, inflammation does. Aging is natural, but inflammation is optional and it's reversible. It's the thing that makes 65 feel like 85, that makes your body feel fragile before it's time. But the opposite is also true. When you start addressing inflammation, gently, consistently, intentionally, your body remembers how to heal, energy comes back, clarity returns, your strength rebuilds from the inside out. So don't ignore the fire, cool it. You still have time, but that time starts now. Most people don't lose their independence because of disease. They lose it because their body slowly collapses, quietly, gradually. until one day they're hunched over, struggling to stand, and calling it just old age. But that's not the whole story. Let's be honest, you didn't wake up one morning needing a cane. You needed it because your posture broke down, because your spine stopped supporting you, because your core muscles disengaged, because your glutes forgot how to activate, because your chest caved inward and your shoulders rolled forward from years of sitting too long, moving too little, breathing too shallow. Postural collapse isn't a sudden event, it's a slow erosion. It builds day by day, year after year, until you find yourself leaning on furniture, shortening your steps, feeling off balance, and wondering where your strength went. Here's the truth. Posture is one of the most overlooked indicators of biological aging. And it's not just about looks, it's about function. When your posture collapses, your rib cage can't fully expand. That means shallower breaths, less oxygen, and less energy. Your digestive system is compressed. Your circulation slows. Your organs are literally being squeezed. Your spine becomes unstable. Your gait turns into a shuffle. And once your walking pattern breaks down, your fall risk skyrockets. And if you fall after 70, the consequences can be devastating. A broken hip, a long hospital stay, a wheelchair, and in many cases, the slow decline into full dependency. But here's what no one tells you. This is not destiny, it's habit. Posture is a daily decision, repeated until it becomes automatic. And the beautiful part, you can change it at any age. Your muscles aren't dead, they're asleep. Your nervous system hasn't forgotten how to move, it just mirrors what you've practiced. If you sit slouched every day, your body molds into that shape. But if you start to reverse that pattern, even slowly, your body begins to remember. You don't need a fancy gym, you don't need a personal trainer, you need consistency, attention, and small signals that say, I still care about my body. Here's where to start. Breathe deeply. Most older adults breathe shallowly from the chest, not the belly. Full diaphragmatic breathing activates your core, lifts your posture naturally, and signals your nervous system to relax. Move intentionally. Glute bridges, wall angels, chin tucks, hip openers, gentle thoracic extensions. These aren't workouts, they're reminders. Messages to your body that say this area still matters. Stretch the front of your body, chest, hips, shoulders, and strengthen the back, glutes, upper back, core. This restores balance and opens your frame. And most of all, don't give up. Not on your posture, not on your strength, not on yourself. Because posture isn't just physical, it's emotional, even spiritual. When you collapse inward, your mood collapses with it. You feel smaller, think smaller, live smaller. You start to withdraw from the world, not because you want to, but because your body feels like a shrinking shell. Studies show that poor posture increases cortisol, the stress hormone, and decreases testosterone, the vitality hormone. You're not just slouching, you're signaling weakness to your entire system. But the opposite is also true. When you take your posture back, when you stand taller, walk more confidently, and breathe more fully, your mind follows. You think more clearly, you feel more empowered, you connect more deeply, and even the people around you respond to you differently. This isn't vanity, it's vitality. So if you're over 60 and you've been ignoring your posture, please stop. This is your foundation. Rebuild it before it crumbles. Sit with intention, walk with awareness, stretch daily, breathe fully. Remind yourself, this structure is yours to protect. Every day you delay, gravity wins a little more. But every day you fight, strength returns, alignment returns, confidence returns. You don't lose your life to age, you lose it to slow collapse. And that collapse is not inevitable, it is reversible, but only if you begin now. As we age, there's a hidden danger creeping in, not disease, not injury, but something far more subtle, isolation. It doesn't arrive like a storm. It builds like dust, slowly, invisibly, until one day you realize you haven't truly connected with someone in weeks. At first, it feels like peace. No more meetings, no more demands, just quiet. But peace without purpose eventually becomes silence, and silence turns into separation. And that's where the danger begins, because isolation is a silent killer. It doesn't just affect your feelings, it rewires your biology. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that social isolation increases the risk of premature death by nearly 30%. That's not just a statistic, it's a warning. Because your body doesn't treat isolation like boredom, it treats it like danger. Here's what happens. When you're disconnected, your body thinks you're at risk. It triggers a stress response, raises your cortisol, increases inflammation, weakens your immune system. Your brain activity slows, memory fades, depression creeps in, and it all starts from simply being alone too much. And it doesn't take much. Hours turn into days, days into weeks. Before long, your world becomes a loop. Wake up, eat, sit, watch something, scroll, go to bed. No deep conversations, no laughter, no hugs, no feedback from another person that says, I see you, you matter. But let's be clear, isolation isn't just physical, it's emotional. You can live with family and still feel invisible. You can be surrounded by people but feel unknown. Because real connection isn't about proximity. It's about being understood, being heard, being valued. Your nervous system needs other people to regulate itself. This isn't philosophy, it's biology. From the time we're born until the moment we die, we require interaction. Babies don't survive without touch. Elders don't thrive without attention. And when that attention disappears, so does motivation. You start caring less about food, about walking, about joy. You skip the morning stretch, you eat whatever's easiest, you stay up late, sleep poorly, and call it aging. But it's not aging, it's disconnection. Your brain begins to atrophy, not from disease, but from disuse. You stop remembering names, you lose interest in stories, you stop sharing, and slowly you fade. Not because your body is broken, but because your soul feels unseen. But here's the miracle. Connection heals. One real conversation, one laugh with a friend, one warm hug. These aren't luxuries, they're medicine. They stabilize your heart rate, strengthen your immune response, improve digestion, sharpen your thinking. You were never meant to go through life alone. And just because you're over 60 doesn't mean your social life should shrink. In fact, now is the time to expand it. Join a walking group, start a book club, call someone every day, mentor someone younger, volunteer once a week. Not for entertainment, for survival. Connection is your lifeline now, not just to feel good, but to stay alive and thrive. Don't believe the lie that making new friends is for the young, or that no one wants to hear your stories. That's not true. There are people out there who need your wisdom, your experience, your scars, but they can't find you if you've disappeared. So show up, even if it's awkward at first, even if you feel rusty. Connection takes effort, but it gives life. Ask yourself, when was the last time you laughed with someone until your eyes watered? When was the last time someone really listened when you talked about how you felt? If it's been too long, don't wait. Be the one who calls. Be the one who shows up. Because when the social world dies, the body is not far behind. Muscles weaken, memory fades, sleep becomes shallow, and that spark inside, the one that makes life feel meaningful, dims. But you can bring it back. You are not done connecting. There are still meals to share, jokes to tell, memories to make, people to care for and be cared for. Your life still matters, not just to you, but to others. But they need to see you, hear you, feel your presence. So don't disappear, don't withdraw, don't shrink, reconnect, speak up, step out. Because connection is not a bonus at this stage of life. As we grow older, it's easy to blame age for the brain fog, the forgetfulness, the slow responses, and the moments where words just seem to vanish. We tell ourselves it's normal, just a part of getting older. But the truth is much harder and much more empowering. Because in reality, most of what we call aging of the brain is not about time, it's about neglect. Your brain doesn't slow down because of your birthday, it slows down because it's not being used. Like any muscle, the brain needs resistance, novelty, and challenge to stay strong. And without those, it doesn't just rest, it atrophies. Many people retire at 60 or 65, and without realizing it, they retire their minds too. They fall into routines. They read the same newspaper, watch the same shows, have the same conversations, do the same crossword puzzles. But comfort isn't the same as stability, and predictability isn't the same as health. The brain is not a storage bin. It's a processing machine. It doesn't thrive on ease. It thrives on stretching, on tension, curiosity, discovery, and struggle. When you stop giving it those things, it doesn't just get slower, it starts to fade. Let's be blunt, your brain is not too old, it's just underused. And here's the science to back it up. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, doesn't disappear with age. It only slows down when you stop learning. when you stop solving unfamiliar problems, when you stop pushing your brain to do something that feels uncomfortable. Crossword puzzles and Sudoku are not enough. They're maintenance, not growth. To really protect and sharpen your mind, you need novelty. You need activities that wake up your brain and challenge it in new ways. Learn a language, start playing an instrument, take a course that makes you think in ways you haven't in decades. Philosophy, coding, history, even math. These aren't just hobbies, they're neural workouts, and you don't have to sit still to do it. Movement also stimulates the brain. Learn a new kind of dance, try a martial art, do balance drills. Anything that combines coordination, memory, timing, and physical control will light up dormant circuits and keep your mind sharp. Use your non-dominant hand to do simple tasks, brush your teeth, write the alphabet. It sounds silly, but it's powerful. It activates both sides of your brain and builds new pathways. And let's not forget, reading matters, but it's not just about consuming information. It's about engaging. Read books that challenge your worldview, debate ideas, talk out loud, recall details from memory. Stretch your working memory like a muscle. Because if you're not growing, you're not standing still. You're declining. Brain fog after 60 is not inevitable. It's a symptom of a culture that stops demanding mental performance from older adults. No one asks you to innovate, to lead, to struggle with ideas, and so the brain stops preparing. But you can flip that script. You don't need a college classroom or a fancy setup. You just need a mindset that says, I'm not done. That says, this brain is still alive and I'm going to use it. Every time you challenge your brain, you send it a signal. We're still in the game. So don't let your mental muscles go soft. Make your brain sweat. Lean into discomfort. Confusion is not failure. It's a sign that learning is happening. And if that sounds tiring, remember this. The cure for mental decline is not rest. It's movement. Not just of the body, but of the mind. Learn, struggle, adapt, repeat. Because the only thing worse than forgetting is believing you're too old to grow. And you're not. You're still here, you're still capable, and your mind is still hungry. So feed it, challenge it, and it will reward you with clarity, strength, and a renewed sense of who you are. It's not disease, not genetics, and not even aging itself that causes many people to fade away after retirement. It's something far quieter, more invisible, and far more powerful, the loss of purpose. This is the final and most underestimated killer of vitality. And the tragedy is, it doesn't happen suddenly. It creeps in slowly over years, like a light dimming click by click until one day there's nothing left to illuminate. Most people do everything right. They work hard, raise families, provide, follow the rules, and when they finally retire, they believe they've earned the right to rest. And that's true. You have earned rest. But rest without purpose becomes passivity, and passivity becomes decay. You see, your body, your biology, isn't built for permanent stillness. You're not designed to coast. You are wired to aim, to reach, to stretch for something. Purpose is not a luxury. It's a biological command. When purpose fades, the systems of the body begin to shut down, quietly. You start sleeping lighter, your appetite wanes, your muscles weaken, hormones drop, healing slows, and not because you're broken, but because your body assumes the story is over, we're not needed anymore. You didn't retire from work, you retired from direction, from contribution, from steering your own life. And once that happens, a deep kind of surrender begins. You see it everywhere. Brilliant people, former leaders, devoted parents, once vibrant creators, now slouched on couches, watching endless TV, scrolling through phones, fading away not because of age, but because they stopped showing up for their own lives. They go from creators to consumers, from voices to silence, and the body simply follows the mind. But there's another way, a far brighter path. The people who live longest, and more importantly live well, aren't always the fittest or the richest. They're the ones who still have a reason to wake up, to show up, to help, to guide, to lead. It could be as grand as mentoring others, or as simple as tending to a garden, walking a dog, calling a friend, or teaching a grandchild. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Your cells don't care about abstract motivation. They respond to your behavior. And when your actions say, I'm still in, the body responds. Healing improves, hormones rebalance, focus returns, energy rises, because purpose is fuel, not metaphorically, but biologically. Don't confuse freedom from stress with freedom from responsibility. You've earned peace, yes, but not absence. You are still here for a reason. That reason may have changed, but it hasn't disappeared. You are still part of something if you choose to be. No one can give you purpose. It's not assigned. It's chosen. So ask yourself honestly, what still excites your curiosity? Who still needs your presence? What story are you still writing? If you can't answer that yet, it doesn't mean there's nothing left. It means you've stopped asking the question. And that is the beginning of decline, not physical, but psychological. Because once the mind disengages, the body follows. So take it back. Even if you've drifted, even if your energy is low, even if your world has gotten smaller, the mission is not over. You've just entered a new chapter. One where your greatest asset is no longer speed, but depth, not ambition, but wisdom. Not competition, but clarity, and the world still needs that, needs you. Not just as a memory or a photo on the wall, but as a living presence, a contributor, a guide, a witness, a leader. Because here's the hard truth. Once you stop steering your life, it starts to shrink. The days blur, the calendar empties, and you don't even realize what you've given up until your body forgets how to fight for it. But it's not too late. Make the decision not just to exist, but to live. Pick a direction, any direction, but make sure it's yours. Because when you do, your body listens, your mind sharpens, and you won't just survive. You'll light up again. You don't live long by accident. You live long by choosing not to fade. So choose to create, to connect, to care, to lead. Not because you must, but because you still can.